If one spends some time searching the internet looking for somebody that can help us for our pain, our movement disorders, anything that we as therapists do, testimonials seem the gold standard. You see them all over people's websites. You see them all over advertisements, etc. And certainly they get people's attention. I think there's value to them because somebody interested in your work can possibly see themselves mentioned in testimonials. But I think that a line needs to be seen and drawn between testimonials and evidence or proof of the mechanism of action or proof of the claims made as a result of the therapeutic process. Testimonials are, in my opinion, simply a person's satisfaction with your services. Certainly you're using probably a modality or a style of engagement with them or exercise or whatever that might be that the person finds benefit from. But I think one needs to see that the satisfaction with the outcome and even the improvement in the functional deficit doesn't prove the claims that are made or doesn't prove the mechanism of action that the therapist believes is happening. It simply says that you and that patient did something that the patient found useful and helpful and is willing to tell the world about. And you know what? As long as you're clear on that, testimonials are fine. They sort of get people knocking on our doors or calling us or emailing us, whatever that is. But when people start saying that the proof that they help somebody with a certain disorder is evidence for their modality, what they thought was wrong with you, for the mechanism of action, etc., that's where a line needs to be drawn. I might use my old myofascial release narrative and say that, oh, you had tight fascia in the diaphragm region, and we did MFR on the diaphragm region and released the restrictions within the fascia, and your GERD improved. Whereas another therapist might say, well, I found trigger points in your diaphragm, and I did trigger point work in your diaphragm, and your GERD improved. The old me used to think that having a good outcome was proof that my fascial story was true, just like that other person who believed the trigger point story was true, when in reality it really doesn't prove that at all. It proved that when we put our hands on somebody and we engage that area and we engage the person's interest and brain and attention to what we're doing or the claims we made about what we're doing, they found a useful purpose to our interaction. And I know that sounds vague and fuzzy, and people aren't terribly fond of having, balloons popped in terms of what they think they're doing. But the reality is that outcomes and mechanism of action, or outcomes and proof of that the story is true that we're telling or that we were taught, they have no correlation whatsoever. So, people are going to continue to use testimonials, but if you're a consumer, I think you got to know, what does a testimonial really tell you and what doesn't it? And if you're a therapist, you don't conflate the two, because testimonials and proof just aren't there. Thanks for listening.